Yo guys, Theo here, Uncommon Sense. So today I'm gonna give you my best advice on how to build muscle naturally. Because out there in the fitness industry there's a lot of misinformation, outright wrong information from individuals that are secretly on performance enhancing drugs, steroids, and therefore what works for them might not work for you if you're a natural, and also people just telling you what you want to hear instead of what you need to hear, telling you about their secret supplement or workout program or whatever, trying to make you think there's some kind of secret catch to it. Well, I'm here to tell you there's no secret catch. Like, what's important for building muscle is actually quite straightforward and boring. Yeah, but as a natural and someone who has made, to be frank, great results building muscle and getting stronger on my own, I'm gonna give you my best advice on how to do this. And so this is going to be a pretty long video already. I've written down basically just a little bullet point list of the important things. Many of these I'm going to do probably deeper dives in separate videos, like for instance building muscle and fasting together. But for this video I'm just going to go through this list and talk about it. So here we go. First thing, the weight training is the main stimulus, and I just put there that it might sound obvious that you have to lift weights to gain muscle, but you hear a lot like the diet is 80% or 90%. Well, like the diet is important, and the more dialed in it is, the better or faster progress you're going to make. But you can't eat yourself to building muscle. Like that would be if you've starved, literally starved in a concentration camp or something. Then yes, when you come back to eating normally, you put on muscle just from eating. But otherwise, if you're like the diet isn't just horrendous, you're gonna have to lift weights to build muscle. So I just want to put that in. If you're a rookie, you haven't done this a lot, even on a shitty diet, as long as it isn't completely too low calories and you don't get 0 hours of sleep, you're going to put on some muscle. So the weight training, the main driver. Focus on compound exercises, like bigger exercises like the bench press, shoulder press, weighted chin-ups or pull-ups, barbell rows, squats and deadlifts. Isolation exercises have their place. They are more like icing to the cake. So what this means is think multi-joint movements, bigger movements, like with a barbell. You don't have to have the barbell, you could use dumbbells instead of a bar for doing a bench press, for instance. But are these bigger exercises that are going to build the majority of your muscle. Even take the biceps. We all know, obviously, that curls work the bicep. That's what the biceps does. But I'm going to tell you, when I point there because that's where I put my pull-up bar I have here, and that's how I started training, doing pull-ups. Doing pull-ups, I built my biceps a lot, and people would think that it's a back exercise or whatever, but yeah, and so the curls, they have their place, but it's more something you put at the end of the workout. You do bigger, and you don't even have to be honest. You could, this if you want to do them, but if you want to grow your biceps, focus on bigger movements where the biceps are involved, and then you can add at the end of the workout the curls. And this goes for, it's the same with the tricep, like big pressing movements like the bench press, shoulder press. This is going to stimulate the triceps too, and the isolation exercises are like the icing to the cake. So base your workouts on compound exercises, bigger exercises, add isolation exercises if you want to at the end. Use progressive overload, increase weights and reps over time. And I put most important factor, because this is something many people miss, that you have to actively try to do more. It doesn't happen by itself. Like when you're new to the gym, you can, if you've never done a bench press, for instance, you do some kind of weight, yes, already the next time it might feel so much easier just from the neurological gains, you've gotten more used to the motion, that you just naturally end up doing more, because it's exponentially how you get better at training. But at a certain point, it's gonna, what you did last workout is still gonna feel heavy on the next workout, and you have to find some way to increase progressively overload. So increase the weight and the reps. So that's a mistake some people do, that do the compound exercises. They end up never, when they come to a certain point, they just come and do their 3 sets of 6 on the same weight on the bench press, for instance. And you have to figure it out. Sometimes, with a squat, for instance, you can often do, say again 3 sets of 6. Then you can often add a very small amount the next time and be able to do 6 reps, 3 sets again. But on the bench press, for instance, sometimes just a little slight weight gain can make you lose 1 or 2 reps even. But then maybe if you have that's the example again, 3 sets of 6 that you're trying to hit, maybe you have to do 5 and 4 reps for that workout. And maybe the next time you hit 6 reps on the first set, but then 4 and 4. And then eventually you hit your 6 reps. So I'm just taking this as an example. You have to try and increase weights and reps or reps over time. Absolutely the most important thing. The easiest think for how you do your training is try to do more. Train harder than last time, like Greg Doucette would say. Okay, use a rep range of 5 to 10 reps for compound exercises and 8 to 20 reps for isolation exercises. This is just, it's arbitrary. It's about what's right. Like, it will be a little different. Different people can find different ways of making it work, but you have to realize when you train more for strength than actually building muscle and the physique, you can do lower reps and like 3 reps or even once sometimes, but you can build muscle from this, especially if you're a rookie. Like it's almost unavoidable. But you have to realize that strength, it's not only about increasing the amount of contractile tissue, the actual amount of muscle fiber units that you can use for the movement. It's also about the nervous system, just optimizing like your software for doing this movement. So just like what I'm saying is after a certain point when you get stronger, it's not so much that you put on more muscle, it's that you're just better at recruiting your muscle and just performing the motion very correctly. So but that might not create enough mechanical tension on your muscle to actually tear it down, those micro tears we want to rebuild it bigger for building muscle, So for compound exercises, when you strive to build muscle, do at least 5 reps per set is my recommendation. 5 to 10 is a good range. For more isolation exercises, 8 to 20, because again, like bicep curls or something, it's just doing sets of 5 with a barbell like this. It's not going to give you so much in terms of muscle growth. It might make you stronger there, but keep the reps higher. And you're going to have to figure out what you like from your own. On some, like for me, for instance, I like to keep biceps a little on the higher end, like around 15 reps. I just feel they respond better to that. Like if you think about it, how often in real life do you use your bicep, like doing something heavy, you would do something else, And I think triceps, I get away with a little bit lower reps, like 8 to 12 instead of maybe 10 to 15. This you're going to figure out for your own, but basically keep the reps lower, but not too low, 5 to 10 on big compound exercises like the bench press or squat. On isolation exercises, a little higher, 8 to 20 reps. Optimally, use a training split that hits every muscle twice per week. So a training split is just how you divide your body into your training. You can of course come to the gym and train full body. In fact, I recommend that to a lot of people. I'm a personal trainer with most of my clients. This is what we do. But you can also split it into push-pull legs, like push, chest, shoulders, triceps, you train together, pull, back and biceps, legs, you train legs. You can do an upper-lower split, and obviously I don't have to tell you what that means, but optimally, you want to hit every muscle twice per week. This is because for us naturals who don't take any steroids, protein synthesis is just elevated for 24 to maximum 48 hours after training. This means we can only build muscle from that workout for that amount of time. But someone on steroids, they can have protein synthesis elevated for like 3 days. So they don't have to think about the frequency as much. So if you're going to train 3 times per week, I recommend you do like full body instead, for instance, of push-pull legs, because push-pull legs is a great split if you want to train more often. But if you train 3 times per week, you're just going to hit every muscle and hit the muscle once per week, And when you're new to training, this can be fine. You can do progress on that, but after a few months, you're going to run into probably a wall, and you want to increase the frequency. So yeah, optimally hit every muscle twice per week, because we want that frequency. Look, if you do push-pull legs, if you take those 3 workouts, and exactly these workouts, but you take 1/3 of each and put them together into 3 full body workouts, you're doing exact same volume and exercises and everything like this. But because you get the frequency you will get better results from that. So yeah, and you can also do something. What I recommend: don't have a day like Monday is push day or Wednesday is leg day. If you want to do push-pull legs, for instance, but train say 4 times per week, even though we split it into 3 parts, then just cycle through it, and all of a sudden now you train every muscle 1.33 times per week. So yeah, you see what I'm saying? Try to get up the frequency to twice per week at least. With full body, you could do it 3 times per week. But yeah, anyways, have to go on. Caloric surplus, is it necessary or not? Eating more calories than you spend? Well, when you're just starting out, if you're a complete rookie and like average built, I wouldn't focus on trying to being on a caloric surplus, because like this is how it's the more advanced you get, the more you have to choose. Am I losing weight, or am I trying to put on muscle or strength? And the less accustomed you are to training, the more you can do both at the same time, and you don't really have to think about it. So I would just start training, get into the habit, and get used to the gym, and get in the exercise habit. And then, because you are going to, if you don't screw up the diet completely and just don't eat anything, and don't sleep anything, you are going to make progress. But then eventually, yes, you will want to be in a little surplus, but don't mistake bulking as that you should just be on a seafood diet, you see food and you eat it. A very small surplus is necessary. I did a big surplus this fall because I wanted to put on fat too, because I wanted to be just bigger and stronger for doing compound lifts. It wasn't about just adding muscle, If you have you just need a 200 to 300 calorie surplus or so. Bigger than that, the bigger surplus does not mean the more muscle gain. You're just going to put on more fat. You might feel a little stronger, have a higher energy, but you're going to put on more fat. And if you're thinking about your physique, then it's just more fat to lose later, So just do a small surplus. If you are already very overweight, I think the same thing goes as for someone who's just average and starting out. Like, don't think too much about the calories, or even be on a deficit, and don't think too much about the muscle progress first. You want to lose the weight first. You might be able to do some progress in a deficit even when you're at this point, as long as you get enough protein, because to a certain extent, the body, as long as you get the protein, it can make up some of the missing calories from your own body fat. So maybe focus, even if you start doing the weight training and maybe even build some muscle and get stronger, don't think too much about that until you're happy and you feel like lean enough. And then you might want to be thinking about being on a surplus to add more muscle. Okay, your macros. So if you eat maintenance or on a surplus or on a deficit, doesn't matter. But for this purpose, training to build muscle, your macros should be 2 grams protein per kilo body weight, and 1/3 of the total calories from fat and the rest from carbs. And so it's just that you don't need more than 2 grams of protein per kilo body weight, about 1 gram per pound body weight, by the way. You don't, more than that is not going to lead to more muscle gain. That's all you need to optimize muscle gain there. 1/3 of calories from fat is just what's healthy. Obviously healthy fats, I consider, you want mostly saturated animal fats, but some, olive oil and stuff you can get in there. Obviously, you don't want a bunch of trans fats or too much of vegetable oils and shit from your fats. But just 1/3 of calories is mostly for health reasons, Rest from carbs is, it's both because carbs are actually anabolic. They will help drive muscle growing, what's the word? Like just process it in your body, but also give you the energy to, actually deliver and train hard in the gym. Like obviously for some people should eat lower carb that are sedentary and don't work out and just want to lose weight. Yes, lower carb diets are good for that, but we're talking for this specific purpose, then you should have carbs. Okay, spike protein synthesis multiple times per day. So, that on this channel we like fasting a lot, both prolonged fasting and intermittent fasting. But when you want to put on muscle, like this, again, I can dive deeper into this in another video, but when you want to put on muscle, like consider putting the fasting away for a while, like both the prolonged fasting and intermittent fasting. Again, the less adapted you are, the more untrained you are, yes, you could probably get away with doing some prolonged fast here and there and still keep putting on muscle. But as you get more advanced, it's going to get harder and harder. Like your body is always trying to figure out from everything that's happening. It's trying to figure out what's the best choice. And when you already have a decent amount of muscle and strength, like as soon as you do something like a fast and stuff, like the body is going to be like, not focus on putting on muscle. It's more like preserving what we have, So, and yes, also with the daily, we're talking intermittent fasting. Like I have done a very successful intermittent fasting bulk. It was 16-8, 8-hour eating window, 3 meals in that eating window. And this is, if you want to do intermittent fasting still, and try to put on muscle, this is the routine I'd recommend. You can do it on 2 or 1 meal per day, but you have to realize protein we don't store in our bodies like we store fats and carbs for later use. Protein is just in our system. The amino acids are in our system for a certain amount of time after we've eaten, and then we don't store it. So you can figure out for yourself. You just eat once per day. Just get one moment when we get protein to build up muscle, and you can build muscle. Then it's just going to be slower, So it depends on your goals. If we're trying to optimize building muscle, no. And then the 6 meals per day shit, that you see bodybuilders doing, well, consider that they have put on a supraphysiological amount of muscle. Maybe someone that has reached that level has to eat that often, But I think for us naturals, like 3 meals or maybe 4, I add a 4th sometimes on feel, if I just feel hungry or if I've moved extra, I don't really, if I'm on a phase when I focus a lot on the training, then it's not important. The fasting is not, I still don't snack, I still don't eat shit food. It's just that I can, fasting is great, but it's not the more fasting, the better. You can have periods when you do more fasting and periods when you skip it for 2-3 months. This is what I do. This is important. Space out. If you do this 3 meals in an 8-hour eating window, for instance, like space them out at least 3-4 hours between the meals. This is because we spike protein synthesis when we eat protein, but if we eat protein again too soon after eating it, it's not a new spike. And so this is fine-tuning. The total amount of protein is going to be the most important, but if you're going to eat multiple times, just make sure to space it out so we get those new spikes and actually, even by a little, at least increase the amount of muscle we can put on. Yeah, okay, train at a high intensity. Take sets to or close to failure, meaning where you can't perform another rep. On bigger exercises like the squat, you don't have to go to actual failure. Then my screen went out there. But the intensity should be high, and you should strive to add reps or more weight to the bar for the same reps. On isolation exercises, you can basically always go to failure. If you lose reps between sets doing this, doesn't matter. Like say we do curls and we do 15 and can't do one more, rest, and then we can do 12 the next one and maybe 10 on the next one. This doesn't matter. It just means that you've successfully stimulated the muscle. You could also hold back a little. Say if we have 3 sets, hold back 1 rep or 2 on the first 2 sets and then go all in on the last one. So the point here is just that if you do most reps on the first or last set, it doesn't really matter. I've done both methods successfully, but the intensity has to be high. Again, the compound exercise, you don't have to fail on a squat, but when you go and re-rack the bar, you should feel like that was a heavy set, And then the next time, if you did, again, 3 sets of 6, for instance, try doing the same with a little more weight there. Okay, get enough sleep. 8 hours or more would be optimal, but basically the more sleep, the better. And this is like one of the biggest secrets, when people look for the easy, and like their supplements and workout programs, blah, blah, blah. Like these are the basic things that are so important. It's so boring. Like it's something Stan Efferding that I have followed, taken a lot of advice from, says that if you take creatine and just get 4 or 5 hours per sleep per night, you're a fucking idiot. And what that means is creatine is a good supplement. Like if you want to try it. It can give you a little bit of benefit, but it's never gonna even compare to just getting adequate sleep and a proper diet, of course. But now we're talking about sleep. Like the proper diet, proper training, proper sleep. These are going to be the most important things. Like it's the best drivers of muscle growth, except the hacks that we don't care about here, like the steroids, of course. But even someone who took steroids, these things would be the most important things for them to do too. So yeah, try to prioritize sleep, 8 hours or more, and preferably if you can fall asleep at 10 or 11 at night. Those first hours there before 12 they are the most valuable ones. So get the right amount of sleep, but at the right time too. It's going to be super important. Like, we don't build muscle in the gym, we break it down there. It's with the food and the sleep that we actually rebuild it afterwards. Eat a clean diet so that micronutrient needs are addressed, obviously. Of course, as much as possible, like with minerals and vitamins, should be on point, but I just mentioned that zinc and vitamin D, very important for testosterone. So vitamin D, if you live somewhere where it's sunny, you should always try to get sunlight. There's many other health benefits from that. It's again with the sleep, just a boring thing. Be out in the sun is going to help you. If you live somewhere like me, like now we can get vitamin D from the sun here in Sweden again, but during the winter we can't. So this is one of the things you could consider a supplement for, because it's very hard to get via diet enough vitamin D and without the sun. So like a cleaner diet, it's again with both the cleaner diet and the better sleep you get, the more optimized. Like, you can still make progress with little to little sleep or not a perfect diet. It's going to be better. Like an example with sleep again, there was a study where two groups, they were in the same caloric deficit, but one group slept 8 hours per night and one were limited to 5-6 hours per night, lost the same amount of weight, but the group that slept less lost more muscle mass and less fat. So you see, eating better, it's the same with the diet. If you don't eat a bunch of junk food, clean food, your nutrient partitioning is going to be better. Like more of that is going to be used for what you want it to and less for body fat, you know. So yes, optimize your diet and sleep is going to make it better and faster. And lastly, in whatever you're doing, be consistent. Building muscle is a marathon, not a sprint. So again, it's like how I say, you could make good progress for a long time doing just 2 full body workouts per week. As long as the intensity and the volume and correct exercise selection is there, you could do great progress for a long time. You could do it probably for at least half a year until you run into a wall and maybe have to add more workouts to make progress. But I promise you, someone who starts out and does 2 full body workouts per week, it's probably, as long as they do it consistently, it's going to work better than what many guys do from nothing, going 5-6 times per week in the gym. Like, that might be too much. They might not be able to handle that volume, and like the progress might stall just because of that, but also probably not sustainable, like going from nothing to this. Being able to be consistent and slowly increase what you do is going to be much better. And if life comes in a way or you get sick or whatever, you know, your line of progress is always going to look a little like this. Maybe you get sick a bit, but then, you know, minimize this. As soon as you are healthy, you know, can get back, try and do that again, you know. Think about the long term. Don't get upset because you can't train for a week because you're sick. You have still trained for however long time, you know. It's just a little bump in the road. It's a long game. You don't sprint. You don't do 6 workouts in a week and boom, you put on some muscle. You can do 2 workouts per week and in some months, boom, you put on a nice amount of muscle. So that's basically it. It's already quite a long video and I'm actually running out of time on the camera. I hope it was useful. I think I got in a lot of good information here. Many things that I could dive deeper into, like the fasting and building muscle for sure. I know I'm gonna do another video, but please let me know in the comments if there's something you want me to go further into, more detail. Please like the video if you found it helpful. Yeah, in the comments, just comment to help me. It helps. If you appreciate it, please let me know. Yeah, and give me advice on what you want to see more videos on similar topics here on. And please subscribe for more content about fitness, building muscle, fasting, losing weight, general self-improvement, all that kind of cool stuff. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Peace.